So this one's nearly finished. This represents 13 months worth of work between the panel shop, engine builder and myself to reassemble it. Most of the parts were here. Some were missing, some we've replaced, some are new, some have been refurbished, but you know, you get the idea of the amount of work and effort that goes into restoring a Bathurst XU1. There was a huge amount of time. This car's going to go and get, there's an exhaust issue, it's going to get sorted out, and then it's going to go off to get tuned, and then it will be driven to check for anything that needs to be adjusting or whatever. And then it's off to its owner. So nearly finished with this one. But what I want to do is I want to take you back to the very start of this particular car arriving here at Worthy Restorations, because she was in a pretty sad state, and it's been 20 years, I think, roughly sitting in a panel shop that did poor work that I had to get redone again. So, you know, it's certainly got a new lease on life, and I can't wait to get in this car and actually drive it and test it and then hand it back to the customer. It's heading back into state when it's finished. And then after I finish that, I'm actually going to be moving on to the next XU1, the Amethyst CK LC XU1. And what a beautiful car this one has turned out to be. And you look at that, that is just stunning. That colour really sort of pops out in the sun. But a beautiful job by the panel shop, and this is the next one that's going to be restored after I put the engine in that one. Anyway, settle in, enjoy the next 45 minutes of the restoration of this car. Let's take you back to the start. This is next. It's the next one to come in. So this one's been in the panel shop for the last 3.5 months. It's just finished its ceramic coat. I actually organised a ceramic coat for this before it came to me, just so the bodywork is spot on. So this one is about to come back and have its reassembly. I've been building the front end and the rear end, which you'll see right now. Okay, there's a lot going on here at Worthy GTR and XU1 Restorations. I have got pretty much a full shed. I've got a lot of work on, so I need to start working my way through these cars, and you can see that that's the front and rear end that I'm working on for this Loner Ranger. It's the Bathurst version LC that's come back from the panel shop after a 6-month hiatus to get all of its body done, so all of its gaps right, all of its fabrication work, and then paint, panel, and blackouts, but this one has certainly turned out beautifully. Over to the right here, we've got a very rare LJ GTR XU1 that's just come back from the paint shop as well, in liniment, which is must have been a special order, because liniment was actually an LC colour, which is this model, and that was the next model on. So there'll be videos to come on that one shortly. And walking around the workshop, I've just finished pulling this plum dinger apart. You would have seen this in other videos that I've got where I've done some work on this, done some interior work and cleaned up a few things, but this has now changed hands with an owner, and it's up to me to get this paint work done, body work done. So everything's been taken out of this car. It's going to go off and get all the engine bay done, all the body work done, all the dents taken out. So this one will be another video that you will see shortly. And moving along, because you're in Torana land at the moment, this is my Bathurst XU1. This one's going to have a video shortly with the other XU1 that I found in the shed, which is actually sitting over here That's the Shadow Mauve that was sitting in a shed about 12, 14 months ago. This one's been fully restored. If you watched my videos, you'd see that. And this is a thing of beauty, this one. But this one here, I'll be doing a video on with these two cars together and talking about the backstory of those two cars. And I'm figuring out what I want to do with this one. We'll get to that. Right now, I've got a bit of work to do to start working on customers' cars and get these things back into a state where they can start driving them again, which is obviously turnkey. So there's a huge amount of work that needs to happen. Look, typically bodywork on these cars around the 500 to 700 hours, depending on how bad they are, and then reassembly, depending on what parts need to be done, around about 280 to 300 hours. Sometimes it's less, sometimes it's more. It just really depends on what's been done prior. This one's luckily had all of its parts pretty much ready to go, so this will be a reassembly mainly only, without restoring many parts. So anyway, it's just a quick tour around the shop. It's pretty busy. I've actually got another car coming here next week, and then another car, so I can't actually do any more until I start moving some cars out and finishing off some of these cars, which is what you're going to be doing, looking and watching as these get built. Hopefully enjoy the process, because I do, I love it. I've got a passion for these cars, and hopefully that sort of shines through with the work that I do. So it's trim time. It's time to put these stainless trims on. These ones here. What you might see on some cars is that these trims get put on and then overlap them over there, but they're actually meant to butt up against each other. So now the fun begins to get these trims on, and normally when you have the car painted, it's adding a few mil on there. So I'm just gonna have to finesse these to get them on, which you will see shortly. And then the bottom ones, I've just got to put the tabs back on, the plastic tabs, and they should just click on. And then there's a couple of screws, there's a screw in there on that one there. Yeah, some sides going real easy, other sides are really hard. Couple of hours trying to put these things on. Because it's had so much work around here, it's just really micro fine adjustments, because the gapping goes in and out. That's as good as I'm going to get on there. And obviously you've had that fabricated in the back as well, so it's not going to be exactly the same as factory. So look, you're not going to notice it, but I just knew how much work needed to go to get these things on. Okay, stainless trims are on. Key to it is to try and get them on by hand. Sometimes I need a little bit more encouragement than that. But yeah, they certainly make the car. Today I'm actually going to be putting in the door handles and all the door locks. And when you buy these door locks, you can get them from Rare Spares. They've got the incorrect fittings on them to operate them. You need the original ones, which are these ones, which are going to get cleaned up, and then they'll get put into the car, and these are going to go in as well. And I also like to put some grommets on them just behind the doors, so we'll see if we've got enough room, because the paint on these is really thick, these cars, once they've been painted. So this is a lot of light, delicate work just to file back some of this and make sure you don't damage anything, because otherwise you're not going to get those locks in. So we'll get those in today and do some more work around the door mechanisms. Then today I'm also going to start chasing the rest of the loom in through here, and then put your heater vents in, and then start putting the underdash in, so I can start to work through all the power on this car. I like to get all the power sorted before we cover everything up in case there's an issue. but there shouldn't be because that's a new loom. Rightio, all the door mechanisms are in and together. I've just got to put the lock up there, but I wanted to make sure that everything works first, which it does. These are new locks, new handles. I can lock, unlock, open, shut, and lock. Other side's the same. It just takes time. You've got to actually file out the paint in here. Be really careful putting these in so you don't scratch anything. It takes time to every individual door, and I've just finished that one over there. Sweet. So today is headlining, roof lining day. These old things. I'm actually going to install that into the orange car. I just picked up the blue car's roof lining as well. And look, I do these because it just takes so long to get somebody to come and do it. And the people that are actually doing this, it's a bit of a dying trade. So I basically taught myself. I've learnt myself to install the roof linings, and I actually don't mind doing it. So, you know, with this one here, it helps save me time. I'm not waiting on people. I can do it myself. I'm going to go for, it's still got the sound deadener on it, which is good, but I'm going to go for installing this myself. And because I'm not putting the windows in today. The windows will actually go in a little bit later. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the roof lining in and then just use some seals, some rubber seals and some channel just to hold it in place till such times I get the windows in. So, you know, I'll be putting in the front and rear windows to hold it in, but I'm actually just going to be using some of these rubber moldings around here, just hold the roof lining in. So if you want to see how this is done, keep watching because it's not easy. Once you get your head around it, it's actually not that hard. Now, when installing the roof lining, you start from the back and work your way forward. I've actually had a few people come and install roof linings before, and I've watched them, watched how they've been installed, and then I've just followed the same procedure. So, you know, I'm sure there's probably others out there that will think that some of the things that I do are not correct with the way they do it, but look, it works. You'll see the finished product at the end. It would be nice and taut, and it'll be held in really well. But anyway, you're going to start from the back here, and then work your way forward. And there's a little bit of cutting, and there's a little bit of gluing, obviously, that needs to take place. You've got to use the correct glues here to hold it all in place. But, you know, what I will need is just to make sure that on that roof lining there at the very front, I need to make sure that I've got all that held in with some Bailey channel. It'll be fine. This is about the third car that I've done. Actually, no, it's the fourth car that I've done. So, look, if you get a newer car, it's just a one-piece roof lining, it just pops in and out, whereas these things, because they've got bows and they've got a lot of gluing, I think that the craft is slowly starting to die. There's not a huge amount of motor trimmers left, and there's specifically not ones that are looking to do all the installation for you or come down to you and actually do the installation. Most of the time you've got to send the car off to them, and it could be months before you get it back. So I've just learnt myself to do it. So anyway, you can watch me do that. So that window is actually in. That one didn't go in too badly. It was actually reasonably straightforward to get that one in. Sometimes they fight a little bit, but that one was actually okay. So next up, I've got the rear parcel shelf in. I'm actually going to start putting in the carpet, doing the underlay and cutting the carpet correctly so that it fits the seats and the seats are hidden the way that they were meant to be done in the factory. But you can see with this window, it's all in. I've just got to put the locking strip in, which I'll get to today. Get the carpet in, parcel shelves on. I'm actually not putting the back window in until I tighten up the back of the roof lining just a bit more. And then I will be starting to put in the door assemblies. Next, I am waiting on the quarter windows to come down from the panel shop, and then the rear windows need to be sprayed as well for the back quarter windows. So we've still got a little bit of work just at the panel shop, but that's being done this week. So I'll get to the doors. I'll probably go crack on with the heater box and the wiper assembly install going back in here, and then that way I can finish off everything in the engine bay that I need to do before the engine goes in. It's a productive day on this one. I've managed to get the windscreen in. That's a new windscreen. Rubber from Rear Spares works really well, so I never have any problems with those window rubbers. I've heard of other suppliers that are not as good, but anyway, I don't have any issues with those rubbers. I've managed to get the carpet in as well with the underlay and cut out all the correct areas for where the seats go. And also did the accelerator pedal as well. They still need to have the accelerator pedal installed there. There's 2 holes that need to go in there, but it's pretty much nearly ready for me to move to the next phase, which is putting in the handbrake, putting on the scuff plates, and then eventually, once I put the back trims in, I will put the seats in with the seat belts, etc. And then I've finished in this area here. I am still waiting on the window. That's coming through Wednesday, Thursday. I'll pick that up. So I'll get onto that and get that back window in and finish off just doing this roof lining in here. I just want to tighten it up. And then that way all this back part of the car will actually be finished as far as seats, seat belts, roof lining, and I'll just have to put these windows in, but they're coming from the panel shop. They've got to be resprayed first. So managed to get the back window in, the parcel shelf in, all the clips for the parcel shelf, and I'm also test fitting the seat belts as well. They will still need some rubber mountings on the top, so they're just sitting in there at the moment. But you can actually see that the window's in with the new window rubber. Back parcel shelves in, seat belts in. I'm then from here and going to put the door trims on, and I'm also going to be putting in the rear seat once it's all finished, because what that means is that once I put the locking strip in the back of that window, it's actually going to be finished from here backwards inside the car, and then that leaves me to start putting in the heater box and all the underneath the electrical, the underdash, the dash, the instrument cluster, and I'll keep going through there. I've still got to tighten up the wiper assembly as well and put all that in there. So there's a fair bit left to do. There's just stuff I can't do until I actually put the wiper assembly in first. But once I've done all that, then this interior will come close to being finished. I still am waiting on the windows to be sprayed here, and I'll be pulling that tighter on the roof lining. So it basically looks like that when I'm finished. I'm at the stage where I can put the door trims into this car now. So what I need to do is I need to cut out the holes, which I've started doing to put your ashtrays in, which will get cleaned up and polished, and also the hole for the door handles as well. And then the trim tops need to go on. The top, there's a stainless steel trim that goes on here, and there's also another hole that I need to cut there for the seatbelts. Then I can put them in only after I've put on the clips that actually hold the backing plates on as well for the actual trim. So I've test fitted the stainless steel trim up the top here, cleaned it up, just used some metal polish on that, and I'll do the same for these ashtrays. And then I've got to use these clips. Now the key to these clips is that they're pretty well compressed. You can see that there. What I want to do is I want to get them into these holes, and I want to have them loose enough so that I can move them around but not too loose. So I'm actually going to just use a screwdriver and open it up a bit so I can get them in there and just tap them in. Managed to get the door trims in. This side here didn't want to go in that well. I don't know why, but I did notice that this door trim wasn't exactly right as far as how it was getting fitted, so I had to take it off multiple times, put it back on. That other side went on, no worries. And that's what happens. One side can go on well, other side not so well. So what I'm going to do is I've put one door handle on, but I've left one door handle off because I want to put the back seat in. It's just easier to put the back part of the seat in without one door handle in. So I'm going to put the seat and the door handle in now. It's all starting to look like it's coming together now, which is great. What I'm going to do from here is I'm actually going to put the steering column in and start playing around with some more stuff around here with the wiper assembly and also the remaining accelerator bracket and some other bits and pieces that need to go in before I can actually start finalising the interior and putting the seats in. So there's a bit of work to do in the front and also the front in here, and then putting all the electrics back into the dash and under dash, as well as the accelerator pedal box and the brake and clutch pedal box. So a bit to do, but I really had to get all that stuff finished off before I could finish this off. Okay, so I'm chasing the wire for the interior light up through. It goes up through here. Actually goes in, you'll see a hole here. There's a, just get the light onto it. There's a hole just where I've got the wire in. You'll just see it there. There. And that chases down through here, and then it pops out in here. You'll just see it sticking out there, and then I can pull the wire through. Now, I can't pull the wire through at the moment because it has the connections on it for the light, which is just, I'm sitting on it. These ones here. So you can't pull it through that small channel like that. It's not going to fit with these connections on. But what I will do is I'll disconnect this from the harness, which is just up here, and I will plug it back in afterwards, and it should go in. It's either that or I'll cut the wire and I'll just resolder it. Probably do that, actually, it's less work. But anyway, I've got to pull this up, then I'll pull it up through here, and then I'll cut the opening out for the light, and then I'll just run a wire through there and pull it through there, and then it's all connected, it's all in. I could have done it without the roof lining in, but 6 by my half now, that doesn't really make a difference. So that's in now. It's been chased along through here and then down through here and then reconnected in there. So you can see the hole that it comes out of. Reconnected it all because I cut it and then chased it through. It's not a quick job, but it's just one that's got to be done right. And sometimes you have some problems trying to bring it up through this channel, especially if it's had repairs. And so that's done for now. I'm going to crack on with the door switches and start working towards getting this underdash put back in, and then I'm going to start putting in the wiper assembly. Okay, so now I've got the wiper assembly in, I need to start putting in the heater box. But before the heater box goes in, there's a blanking plate that goes in just over here, just in there. So I need to make sure that everything's all fit and snug, and I've got a new gasket for it. The heater box is there, which I've already reconditioned. So that'll be coming out shortly and going back into here. And then once I got all this out of the way, I've pretty much finished all along the back there, and I can get started on finalising the interior and doing the electrical and the underdash and the dash and all the rest of it. So that's a pretty big step forward now. I was actually only waiting on one part, which is the one that is over to the right hand side that you see blacked out up the top just there. I had to wait for that to come to me because it was missing. Besides all of that, I'm going to stick that in now and see how it looks. But more and more, and every day, this car's starting to come together, and it's going to be, I think, one of the best ones I've ever built. I always keep saying that because I've never built the best one. The best one's going to be the next one, and the next one, and the next one. If you think that you're actually building the best, you're kidding yourself. You're always learning. So hopefully you're seeing the progress of these cars and how the quality is improving each time. But I do want to get it to a point where nothing really leaves this place without my tick of approval. So we'll see how we go with this one. I'm quite hopeful. I've enjoyed working on it so far. It's just one of those ones I've really liked putting together. Some more than others, but this one, I think the main reason why I love it so much is because I'm starting from scratch. It's like a blank canvas, and I can pretty much do everything that I need to do to it that I see as I go. That's a big difference to a car that's been sent to me that's already partially assembled. So, onwards to the heater box. Still a lot of micro adjustments to get it dead straight. For example, we've got a gap there, just in there, and I need to move it up slightly, which I will. Be sitting roughly about there, but you've got to adjust in there, and then I make sure these grill gaps as close as I can to perfect. And then I will be attaching that in there as well. So lots of micro adjustments. I'm going to refit the filler plate. So, have to take the boot off to put the boot rubber on. You can't do it while it's on there, but I'm just a bit disappointed with this loom because that does not fit into the courtesy light socket. It's too small, so I'm going to have to try and find one and splice that in. Plus a couple of other small things, but it is what it is. Got the rubbers in there. We'll be putting these covers on shortly. Put the fuel tank in when I get that. But for now, I'm going to put that lid back on. Changed that to a re-zinced one. Clipped in the electrical. Was more work than needs to happen. The fuel tank's in, and I've got the drain plugs in. They're meant to be up that way. A lot of people put them in the other way, but they're actually meant to sit up that way. Clipping in the rear loom. The fuel tank needs the neck for it, the rubber neck, which is coming, and also a gasket for the black fuel cap. But the black fuel cap was only specific for a CK prefix LC XU1, so a lot of the other ones you see are either, you know, your silvers and your Holden logos, or even locking caps. Locking caps are very common on LJ. That's just a normal Torana one, and then you've got your key locking cap one here. But on this particular model, it was black. So anyway, what I'm doing next is I'm going to put in, there's a grommet that goes in, and I've got my 6 long, just there, there's a grommet that actually goes in here. That needs to go in along with the fuel connection and connect up to the fuel line, and then put the breather pipe in. Breather pipe goes in around through here, clips up underneath there, and then runs out the back just over there. And that's what's next. I also need to change over this plug here, even though this loom's brand new. It was an incorrect plug for the courtesy light in the boot, so I need to fix that one there. So forgive the dust, it's a little bit dusty, but yeah, you get the picture. Okay. Now it's starting to look like a car again. Still tons of work to do around here. But now you get the idea of how this car's going to turn out. Yes, this side's fitted nicely. That's all good. Happy days. So that's come up really well. All new hardware, all reconditioned hardware, new screws, re-chromed in certain spots. So that's good. And then obviously there's some screws in here that'll then pull all this tight. So I'm happy with that. I don't tighten all these up until I put the window in, because this actually needs to come out on a bit of an angle when you start to put the window in with the rubber. So we'll see how we go. So I'm happy with all this. That's gone together really well. You can see that they've got a little rivet there now that holds that little channel piece in. Then you can look up here and you'll see that that connects in really well with there, and the rubber fits in well. So I'm happy, real happy with that. So fun fact with, especially with my car as well, it's got the holes, little screw holes. You can actually feel the indentation just here. There's a hole in there and one down the end, and there's the pin holes inside your door, and that's what held the door trims on. And yes, it's a screw that you can actually see. Probably not the world's greatest thing to look at, but that's just what they did. So we'll put those in on Monday, and then it's the same on the front, and then that'll keep it nice and tight there. And I'll spend a little bit of time finishing this off, then it's straight onto the other one. Beautiful. We're good. There you go. Thing of beauty. That door is completely assembled. New rubber on it, new strikers, being re-zinced. Everything works. Yes, they did have screws in here on, especially on the LC XU1s. There are different connections, points, depending on which model I found. But if I come over to my XU1 over here, which is an original Bathurst XU1, same as that one we just saw, you'll see that it's got the screws in it. Yep, that's what they had. Almost like an afterthought. But anyway, onto the other door now. Finish that one off. And this car's coming along very well. It just means gearbox, air dam, running gear, electrical testing, put all that in. Back windows. I'm just taking these seats out because they're going to have the listings aren't right on that, so they're coming out. I've got another set, we'll swap them over. They're going back to the trimmer, which is weird because he's done about 25 sets for me, but I think the apprentice did that one. Not happy with them, they're going back. gearbox is in. Crossmember, gearbox, tail shaft. Next up is a rat trap, the clutch. So that's the clutch mechanism. But yeah, this looks all nice and tight. Yeah, everything's coming together really well. This was not a huge pain in the butt this time around. Sometimes they can be, but it just all went together really well. It's a beautiful XU1. It's come up better than what I thought it would. It's stunning. So you can see how you've got to use the right parts. I mean, that shifter knob just makes all the difference, even though it's an original one. It doesn't have the white writing on it, but you can still see all the markings on it. That's a lot smaller. The rare spares ones are about that big. They're massive. And a fixture interior light all works. Okay, so that exhaust won't go in unless I fully disconnect the handbrake cable. You can see it hanging there. So I have to get inside the cabin, undo it from the handbrake, because the exhaust actually goes over. Everything seems to line up pretty well, but you know, obviously the exhaust must go on first back in the day, because if I was to send this to a exhaust place, they'd make it in different sections. But you know, this being the original exhaust that's from Brad Merrick, I need to take that cable out so I can get it over the diff. All right, that's better. I managed to get it in. I've just got to adjust the angle on that slightly, but it's not bolted up yet, so it will lift up higher. But I'll get onto that tomorrow. Yeah, that looks better. So you can see, exhaust is going over the diff. Just got to put this back in, and that front bit will raise up just a little bit when I put the headers back up, bolt them all up. This isn't too bad. Just play around with the angles a bit, but that you've got to make sure you've got clearance, obviously. Okay, so this car runs. Carbs need to be tuned. It's getting up to temp with its temperature. When it runs, it's charging. It's got oil pressure, good oil pressure. But it's backfiring through this carb here, which could be a vacuum leak, don't know yet. I'm gonna get the carby whisperer down. He's the guy that built the carbs, you can have a look at them. He'll get them tuned to a point that I'll be happy with, but then the car still needs to go around the corner and get tuned. There's a dyno there as well. We're not going to put it on the dyno, but I'm going to send it to this guy that does the final tuning on these engines. So, together and it runs. Wow. That looks, it's the best way to explain it is it's probably how it came out of the factory. Very close. You know, there's some things that still need to be like swapped out for factory, small bits and pieces, but you know, looking at that, that is a work of art for that undercarriage. Okay, so I'm bleeding up the brakes at the moment. What I'm doing is I'm actually bleeding the booster to itself, make up these brake lines, then it gets all the air out of it, circulates it back in, because you need to bleed the booster up first before you do the rest of your brakes. Obviously starting with the rear, working your way forward, but sometimes I'll go from the fronts and work my way to the back and then bleed back again just to make sure I've got all the air out of it. I normally bleed 3 times, even after it's driven. I'll just check to make sure there's no more air in there. But you know, the first point is doing that. So just to explain some of the issues that you face when you're building these cars, there's all sorts of parts that are interchanged, swapped over, reconditioned. You've always got issues with certain things. I'm just working my way through them now. I've had the engine tuner come down and have a look. We've got the car running pretty well. I'm happy with that. But there was issues with the headers, so I'm going to need to swap the headers over for a different set because the other headers had leaks. So that's the first thing that's going to go, and then these will obviously get resprayed and blasted and whatever. So that's going to happen shortly. I've still got to make sure that I marry up those headers correctly now to the exhaust system. So I'm trying to sort that out. I've got some reconditioned carbies here. Obviously they've been done, but this one's leaking at the back, so I need to swap out the O-ring. I've just noticed that. There's a fair bit of work that's happened to these, but there's some other parts that have just rocked up for them, so I'm going to get all that put back together. So I'm looking tomorrow to try and get everything all back in and together, or the next day, and have this car finished off, actually finished off in its entirety. So that includes the windows, and even putting the last thing that I always hate to put on is the mirror. So very, very close. Then I'll be starting to adjust everything underneath, make sure everything's all tightened up, and starting to test drive and see what plays up. What I'm doing today is I'm going to just go back into the carbies and have a look at what's going on, because we've had them running on the car. I'm going to actually, it's got a leak from underneath, which is this area here. You can see here on number 3 that it's leaking. And these are new kits that have gone through here, but you can see that it's weeping there. So I'm going to pull that out now and replace that. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to take just the fittings off of here and adjust for float level, because we think that this one here needs slight adjustment on the float level. So I'm going to get on that now. Today is the final day of assembly, so this stuff on the bottom here is not for that car, it's actually for this one over here. So this is all that's left, which is the breather pipe, the passenger rear quarter window, the air dam, and a couple other small little bits. I am going to adjust the camber on the front end so that the wheels aren't positive camber, they're towed in, and then finish off a couple of things inside the car and roll it forward, give it a wash. It's going to go off to the exhaust place to get some exhaust leaks fixed. The exhaust that was supplied doesn't seem to marry up exactly with the headers, so I don't think there's a bend that needs a slight adjustment, so it just needs to go off there, and it needs to be tuned. It has to be tuned because it's just not running that well. Once I've got all that sorted, then I'll be able to drive it, check for leaks, test, retest, drive, check, up and down on the hoist quite a few times, then hopefully get it off to the customer. So that's the heavy duty 2-core. It's got more fins per row. It's not a 3-core, it's a 2-core. It was specific to the XU1s. That's going in today. It's been a fully rebuilt one. Got to reattach the air dam and the stone tray here, and there's a couple of grommets need to go in, a little bit of wiring loom, and the dust cover. That's it. That's it. We'll get the car off and off to the exhaust shop and tuning. So look where the holes are meant to go for the splash tray. These ones have had work over years. People put bigger and bigger screws in them, try and hold them in. And that one's massive. I'm gonna tap that and put a bigger bolt in it. And this one should still be okay to use, but then it's this one at the back that I need to tap, and that one's okay to use. You know, how does it start at the moment? We'll see how it starts. Not bad. Still runs a little bit rough. Nice sound.